in a room filled with the heartbeat of our nation, the future leaders who are filled with such vibrant energy, passion, and purpose, the citizens who will shape the democratic landscapes of our country. You are therefore the collective architects of our tomorrow as a country and Africa in general. Today we gather under a very powerful consideration of how we as young people can be active participants in our democratic journey, particularly as you seek to drive participation and accountability for a democratic future. As I've told young people time and again, remember you are not leaders in waiting, you are leaders in motion. It has been said that democracy at its best is not driven from podiums, but from the people. Indeed, Article 1 of our Constitution clearly recognizes the sovereignty of the people's power. It says, all power belongs to the people, who shall exercise their sovereignty in accordance with the Constitution. Clause 2 of the same article says, all authority in the state, mark this, all authority in the state emanates from the people of Uganda, and the people shall be governed through their will and consent. All authority in the state originates from the people of Uganda, who shall be governed through their will and consent. Clause 4, which is the crux. The people shall express their will and consent on who shall govern them and how they should be governed through regular, free, and fair elections of their representatives or through referenda. The people shall express their will and consent on who shall govern them and how they should be governed through regular, free, and fair elections of their representatives or through referenda. Article 61 of the Constitution requires the Electoral Commission to ensure that regular, free, and fair elections are held so as to give purpose and life to the sovereign power of the people as prescribed in Article 1 above. However, many people have talked of elections, particularly in the Ugandan context, expressing skepticism or doubt as to the freeness or the fairness of the whole electoral process. Many have gone to opine to say that Uganda does not hold free and fair elections. You ask yourself, why? The understanding of the Commission is that many of the pundits or skeptics who express such views are probably not cognizant or well aware or informed of what constitutes a free and fair election. Because this concept, as I've said time and again, is not defined anywhere in our Constitution or acts of Parliament. It is only the Supreme Court of Uganda that made an attempt to define what a free and fair election is in the famous case of Dr. Kiza Besigye versus Yoweri Museveni and the Electoral Commission, Election Petition number 1, 2001. The court says this: to ensure that elections are free and fair, there should be sufficient time for all stages of the elections: nominations, campaigns, voting, and counting of votes. The candidates should not be deprived of their right to stand for election, and citizens to vote for candidates of their choice through unfair manipulation of the process of electoral officials by electoral officials. There must be a leveling ground of the ground so that the incumbents or government ministers and officials do not have an unfair advantage. The entire election process should have an atmosphere free of intimidation, bribery, violence, coercion, or anything intended to subvert the will of the people. The election procedures should guarantee the secrecy of the ballot, the accuracy of counting, and the announcement of results in a timely manner. End of quote. However, the said description by the Supreme Court is not comprehensive. There are many other tenets that did not highlight that constitute a free and fair election. One of them, for instance, is giving an opportunity to every citizen over 18 years or above to register as a voter. And the Electoral Commission does this by putting in place what we call the update period, where every unregistered citizen who is 18 years or above is given an opportunity to approach the update center and inform or apply to the official that I want to vote from this polling station, premised on place of origin or birth, or rather residence. You can only vote in the current legal framework from a parish where you reside or you originate. Maybe some of you want to vote from your place of origin, in Kigezi, one of these is in Kigezi, sub-region, place of birth. Or you may want to vote from where you reside currently, either at university or at your parents' home. The other tenet, of course, is that the voters must know where they're going to vote from. The polling station. Do the voters know the location of the polling station where they're supposed to vote from? The other tenet is to have a credible, verifiable register, voters register. A credible, verifiable voters register. That is the gravamen of a free and fair election. An election without a known register, without voters knowing where they're going to vote from, is not an election by all accounts. The above description highlights one critical aspect, that the achievement or attainment of a free and fair election is an embodiment of the participatory role of every individual, organization, state agencies, who have a role to play in the entire electoral processes within the confines of the law and the common good. The free and fair election, going by the tenets spelled out by the Supreme Court, is a demonstration clearly illustrates that for us to have a free and fair election, every actor who has a particular role to play must act in accordance with the law and for the common good. But some people have argued that democracy is not merely a spectator sport. It thrives when we all show up, young or old, when we participate, and when we question processes and interrogate them. Your voice, your vote, your values, they all matter, irrespective of your age. We collectively shape our policies, shift cultures, and hold power to account. The youth in Uganda today are therefore called upon to guard against the threats or dangers of our democratic pursuit. One of the grave evils we are grappling with now in our elections is corruption, political corruption, bribing of voters, over-commercialization of our elections, the ugly episodes of violence, intolerance, bordering or culminating into acidic hatred of the individuals we perceive as standing in our way of democratic pursuit, or hatred of the entire tribe. or individuals that belong to that tribe. We even celebrate when someone from that particular tribe dies. That is not democracy. Therefore, as young people, we must have a resolve that we become people who are influencers. Influencers in principle. Influencers for the common good. What is it that benefits the country? What is my role? What are we required to do as young people in ensuring that the path to our democratic pursuit is not derailed? With your collective vibe, energy, and voice, the young Banyakigezi can be influencers of principle. The 2026 general elections in Uganda are therefore an opportunity for you, the young people of Uganda, to stand up and show your positivity in the entire process. We cannot allow the prophets of doom and gloom to occupy the space. As young people, we must be there to say no. But in order to fulfill all this, in order to have meaning and drive, we must be imbued with a mindset of belonging and responsibility for our country. Ask yourself, as a young person, what is required of me today? I have highlighted a few things that I want us to know. One, appreciate your country. Understand its history. Where has it come from? Where is it now? Where is it going? What are the challenges of today? I remind you of the opening words of our Constitution, which those gallant men and women found befitting to remind us every time we open this Constitution and every time we wake up in Mother Uganda. It says, those are the opening words of the preamble. We, the people of Uganda, recording our history, which has been characterized by political and constitutional instability, recognizing our struggles against the forces of tyranny, oppression, and exploitation. It goes on and on and on until the end. But for me, the key highlights this preamble is we, the people of Uganda, recording our history, which has been characterized by political and constitutional instability. Then they resolved to make this constitution. So if for us to have purpose and meaning in life as young people, we must be cognizant of the history of our country. We must be cognizant that every generation has its own peculiar challenges. We must be aware that we are not defined, our destiny not determined by the circumstances we are in today or by the numerous challenges we encounter now, but by how we resolve first and foremost in our mind to address the current challenges, and whether we allow them to derail us from the realization of our goals and objectives. The second thing as young people ought to do is to promote democracy by participating in elections. As I asked you, I hope each one of us is a registered voter. Either as a candidate or a voter or supporter. We've been having nominations for those who are vying for youth elected positions. And the law says for you to participate in the youth elections as a candidate or a voter, you must be between 18 years and 30 years. You are eligible. You are free to stand as a candidate. However, you can also participate with the elders, the other positions. The law says now you can now even vie for presidency when you're 18 years old, provided you have the other credentials. And even when you are beyond 60 or 70, you can still contest. So the In essence, therefore, the avenues for young people's participation, involvement, and role are very clearly laid out within the law. The third thing that we can do is to influence your fellow youth to be agents of peace and stability. Be ambassadors of peace. Unfortunately, in our country, we have had elections where violence appears to take center stage. And it's unfortunate that when you see the people involved in these episodes of violence, it is mostly our young people. That's most unfortunate. We must distinguish between those who truly wish you to be transformed into useful citizens and those who merely pretend to identify with your challenges and capitalize on them to imbue you or to instill in you a sense of hopelessness, despair, and loss of self-esteem. For instance, the issue of unemployment is one of the things which some people have turned to mere cosmetic sloganeering. The young people must be able to distinguish between those who have the policies that indeed address the challenges that face them, and those who are merely seeking to take advantage of these challenges so as to divert them from that which benefits them in the long term. The young people must not allow themselves to be used as vigilantes during elections by engaging in acts of violence, hate speech, sectarianism, based on tribe, religion, culture, and so on. It's unfortunate that as we go on, and I think many of you have observed, that some of us have resorted to very uncharitable language as a means of fronting their political agenda. Hate speech, inciting language, tribal sentiments or talk, religious or discrimination, or using words that create division or discrimination on religious grounds. That's not what benefits democracy, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, those in authority should not look at the youth as trouble causers. Some of us have come to realize that the young people are victims of manipulation and radicalization to some extent. Their vulnerable situation of unemployment, lack of skills, opportunities, etc., is being turned into weapons by opportunists and self-seekers. We must give our young people a message of hope, but also provide a basis for them to generate hope. We have to make them realize that their involvement in acts of violence merely aggravates the plight of unemployment and lack of opportunities. Let me just give you one simple illustration. I have done some limited research and discovered or found that for countries that are developed, and we all strive to get developed as a country, for all countries that are developed, the government in power is not the biggest employer of its people. Quote me one country. For all these countries which have acquired, I don't know what state they call them, or developed state, whatever, there's no government that's the biggest employer. No. The biggest employer is the private sector in the various industries or sectors that constitute the private sector. The private sector in those countries have advanced and developed because of one essential ingredient, the crux of the moment, peace and stability. That is the crux, the essential ingredient of development, peace and stability. And the private sector can only develop and grow when either citizens or other people encouraged by the stable environment bring in resources, and invest in the areas they want to invest. However, when a country is unstable, when a country is not peaceful, those who seek to invest may be put off or discouraged by the unstable environment. Now, when, as young people, we allow ourselves to engage in acts of violence that will cause instability, maybe destruction of infrastructure in our country, it puts off both international and local investors. It's a given. Nobody's going to invest in an unstable country. And that means, therefore, in the long run, that the opportunities that would have arisen by this investment into this industry or this sector to generate employment for our people will be stifled. So ultimately, we, the perpetrators and the participants in the violence, in the acts that cause instability in the country, who are, because we are angry, because of unemployment, because of lack of skills, opportunities, we lose out, even on the efforts that we have been made to address our plight. So instability that disrupts the economy of a country does not benefit you when you are fighting unemployment or when you are seeking opportunities. So that's why the young people who unfortunately are being lured into these ugly episodes and acts of violence causing instability must say no to such acts, because you are killing the chicken that is laying your eggs to address the issue of unemployment. We must detach from the peddlers and the hawkers of doom and gloom. Some of our actors, every time they talk, it's about the bad and the ugly. It's about hopelessness. It's about portraying a situation of you have lost it all. And therefore, you have nothing to lose when you engage in this. If anything, you are exacting revenge for those who have brought about the situation you are in. That is counterproductive, ladies and gentlemen. Some of us have seen what instability can mean in our country. The other day, I was telling this, the gathering of the President Makere. I used to stay in my neighbor home. Because of the situation that was prevailing then, water was on and off. Water in the neighborhood was more off than on. More off than on. Those toilets, you have to tell this graphic thing so that you know. Those toilets inside, you can't go there. There was no water. There was no right water. There was some very funny peanut tree behind the neighborhood down there. Very funny peanut tree. That's what we were using. For bathing, I remember there was one hall which never used to have water. University Hall down there. It never used to have water in the 70s. So you would find the elephants trekking like they do in the natural to University Hall to take a shower, to bathe. Then you trek back. I don't know whether by the time you trek back, you'll be cleaner than you went that year. Because of instability. Then we're telling people that 3 years I was there at campus, because by then the degree course was lasting 3 years. All the essential commodities in this country had disappeared. No sugar, no salt. When we tell you these things, I never told you that when you really know. Excuse me, sir. They say history can repeat itself, don't they? We never used to have sugar for breakfast. For the 3 years I was at campus, there was no sugar in the country. Dr. Rubonda and the Professor Kapunya, I think they know this. some of you, and I think Professor, they know. There was no shoe. So the elephants were taking pride just like that. And it was normal, because that was it. I remember one time I was passing by Bank of Uganda, the old one, the old tower, the old building, not the new one. And there were soldiers who were seated outside guarding the place. And when they saw me, I think they were bored. They wanted something to entertain them. Wait, Kujapa! So I went there with my trousers shaking. When are you come talk to your student? I'm a student. Get a kitambulisho. Bring your data card. So I brought out my university ID. Oh, you talk to your makelele, you na furafura sisi. You are the students of Makelele who are always, fooling us that we did not go to school. Kimbia, talk up. I could have beaten who's in the box of the country. To flee. Therefore, my fellow citizens, when we talk of you, or talk to you, and appeal to you to be real participants in the process of promoting democracy, peaceful elections in our country, we are not just doing it in jest. Real participation begins with each one of us being cognizant of our duties and obligations to our country. In Uganda, our constitution does not only stipulate or lay out our rights as citizens. Although, when you listen to the talk of most of our people, they emphasize majorly the rights. My right to associate, my right to speak, my right to do this, my right to do that. But the same constitution also imposes duties and obligations. And when you look at the national objectives as spelled out in our constitution, objective number 29, it spells out the duties of a citizen. And it says, listen, in the exercise and enjoyment of rights and freedoms, which are in the constitution, the right to life, the right to own property, the right to education, the right to belong to whatever religious faith you're supposed to be one. The exercise and enjoyment of rights and freedoms is inseparable from the performance of duties and obligations. In other words, the exercise of rights and freedoms are the same level with the performance of duties and obligations to your country. And accordingly, it shall be the duty of every citizen, to be patriotic and loyal to Uganda and promote its well-being. Number one, your duty and obligation. Let's use this as a checklist. Are you patriotic, loyal to your country, and promoting its well-being? Promoting its well-being. Second, to engage in gainful work for the good of that citizen. Our duty, our obligation as citizens to engage in gainful work for the good of that citizen, the family, and the common good, and contribute to national development. Are we engaging in gainful work? Yes, some of us are still in school. Granted. But I remember when I was still sitting in the school, the minister, I don't know which ministry, education, or whichever, they had what they used to call illiteracy programs. In those days, many of our mothers, fathers had not had the opportunity to go to school. Many were illiterate. We, the students who were in secondary school, their children, were being asked to go during holidays and conduct some, at least literacy classes for them. In other words, the other thing that we used to encourage us to do when we were, I remember, secondary school, They used to take, I've forgotten what the program used to be called, but they would sing out of a home of a needy person, maybe an elderly lady that needed to be worked on. If they get some students, we go, and maybe most of them was playing mud and water houses. Maybe they need the house needed some bit of grass on top. We don't cut grass, you thatch it. Then if the mud was going to fall off the walls, you get the mud and you plaster it again. Community service. Without money, we are not employed. What is it you are doing for the common good if you do not have employment? For your community, for your society, for your work? Or is it about, but I'm not employed, what do you expect me to do? I don't have a job. Is your usefulness, is your service, your duty not expressed through you're having money, or is something you can do without money? The other aspect of your duty and obligation, to contribute to the well-being of the community where that citizen lives. To contribute to the well-being of the community where that citizen lives. What is your contribution to your community? What value are you adding to your community as a young person? Fourthly, promote responsible parenthood. That is not for you. You are not yet parents. And for those who are parents, it is our duty, our obligation to promote responsible parenthood. It's unfortunate in Uganda today. We hear stories like words like parenting has broken down in many homes. Very sad. Many children are coming from broken down homes. The situation became so grave that the lawmakers or government found it necessary to put in the Uganda police force what they call family and child protection unit. Why? Because some people had abandoned their responsibilities as parents. They had to bring in the law to coerce them to be responsible parents. You hear names of some big people being reported to the police. Responsible people, people are perceived to be responsible. So and so has neglected to provide for his children, for his child. He produces the other person. Very sad. Very sad. The other obligation with duty to foster national unity and live in harmony with others. To foster national unity and live in harmony with others. Yes, you belong to the Banyakigezi fraternity, but you are part of the bigger formula of the citizens of this country. It is important for us to identify with our origin, with our roots. Because when a tree is rooted appropriately, that's when it has the impetus to grow and become strong. So when we are rooted in our backgrounds, in our roots, that gives us the energy, the impetus to move to another. But we do not define ourselves in that context alone. We must define our being, what we are, in the bigger overall picture of citizenship of Mother Uganda. Are you fostering unity? When we promote tribalism, religious bigotry, whatever it is, are we fostering unity? And even it's a point that religious discrimination or bigotry is embedded within a tribe. The very tribe, yeah, well, that one belongs to which one? It's of this one, and that's not for us. That's not with us. Really? That's not going to foster national unity, common good. The other thing, rights and obligations, duties and obligations. Promote democracy and the rule of law. You must engage in promoting democracy and the rule of law. When you register as a voter, when you offer yourself as a candidate, or a supporter, or an agent of a candidate, or to work with the Electoral Commission, on polling day we normally employ short-term people who are working on the polling day or polling days, like in 2026, we are going to need hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people to work as polling officials on polling day. But what pains me in this country, this has taken us to a different level. And here, in some countries like India and some other countries, polling day officials work for free. They are not paid. It is a national obligation for them to work on polling day and be polling officials. In some countries, also it happens. Some of them take it as a sense of pride that I'm contributing to democracy in my country. But in Uganda, the spirit of volunteerism. Why do you want to hear? I'll give you an example. One time when I was still as a judge in Lira, I was doing some small construction in my village home. So I communicated to the man who carried me some materials, sand and so on. He called back, I said, I can't access your home. I said, why? There is a tree that has fallen across the road through your village. Can the people remove it? They are there. I don't see them. So I called one of my nephews. Said, Makezi, what's happening? I'm told this is a tree that has fallen across the road. Said, yes. You mean you people can't you remove it? But you know what people here. They are not about that. Said, hey. So what do we do? Said, we need a man with a person with a power saw to come and cut it in pieces, then we remove it. Get the person. How much does it cost? So much. Mobile money, I brought the car, I sent the money. The people are not bad. Because I want this truck to pass and deliver the sun to my site. Can you imagine the people are not bothered about a tree that has fallen across the road? We want government to help us. The tree has fallen in. Really? So in Uganda, we pay all our election officials. We must pay. On polling day, we've been paying, I think, 50,000. They say that is too little. And the secondary, they say some of these actors who have bad intentions, they influence them to do things that are not right. We said maybe we could raise the package, maybe 100,000. Maybe that will kill the temptations, the appetite for. We don't know. What is your contribution to the Uganda you want? What is my contribution to the Uganda we want? That should always be the critical question for each citizen of this land. What is my contribution? So, we are going to promote democracy and the rule of law by being law-abiding. For instance, we have told actors in these political processes, please, the door is now open for you also to come and play your role. But do it in this manner. When you are going to carry out campaigns, which you are entitled to know, go to a designated venue agreed upon with the security agencies so that they secure that area, the venue. Secondly, be mindful of other road users as you pass through the roads to go to that venue. Be mindful of other road users. Recognize and respect their rights as well. So, do not hold public processions along those roads. Let the road be free for other people. But you have seen how some people have been behaving and acting. Don't go to campaign in markets. A marketplace is for a different business altogether. It's not a campaign venue. Your campaign venue should be in a place which is devoid of other activities, human activities. People don't want to listen. It's very sad. If we love our country, we should, when you love something, you take steps to protect that thing. You preserve it, and you seek to add value to it. That's love. Spouses know that. Husband must make sure his wife is always looking good, happy, content. But when we go about destroying the environment, the wetlands, the forests, what value are we adding to our country? God, who created this country and other countries, whatever he did it on purpose and plan for our common good. When we destroy the environment and nature, we are impacting on the well-being of no other person but ourselves. When government makes deliberate, cautious efforts to put in place infrastructure in crime for these years, a good road, power, and so on, but then someone comes and hacks or cuts the road signposts or the guardrails along the road. Is that being a useful citizen to the country? When power lines, which take so much resources and efforts and time to erect or construct in order to extend power to various places of the country, then someone comes and hacks that stand or power down because he's seeking to get money out of it. Is that love for the country? Are you promoting common good in the country? So, ladies and gentlemen, the Banyakigezi, the young people, the leaders in motion, take the forefront, be at the forefront of influencing your fellow young people, preaching to them the gospel, the message of responsibility to their country, love for their country. Tell them Uganda can only be what we strive and work for it to be. If we strive and work for it to be progressive, to be stable, to be peaceful, we shall have this. But if we strive to make it unstable, promote violence, sectarianism, and destruction and mayhem, so it shall be. WDE, Ugandans, we are reminded. Look at what is happening around us. The countries around us. Where the citizens of those countries, who are born in those countries, who had love for their countries, who were thriving in their country, working and thriving in their countries, they are forced to flee their countries and come to Uganda. Why? Because those countries are lacking what Uganda has, peace and stability. To the extent that now Uganda holds the second place in the whole world of hosting refugees, the highest number of refugees. I think they're about 1.9, almost 2 million refugees. Ask yourself, if, God forbid, our country takes that kind of trajectory, arising out of bad or elections that we have doused with blood and destruction and mayhem, where shall we run to when Uganda is on fire? Because all the possible have run in two places and not stable, and the citizens are left. So, as I conclude, the starting point is to rally every Ugandan of whatever position or level on its desire for or need for peace during elections. Peace is like a common village well where we all draw water from for our sustenance. irrespective of our religious beliefs, political leanings, status in society, tribal or cultural background. Secondly, all those involved in the electoral processes ought to make a cautious effort to avoid creating a scenario that sparks off or promotes violence. The promoters or perpetrators of violence ought to be firmly dealt with in accordance with the law. The young people must also rise up and say no to political corruption. The other day, some of them came to the commission and said, Chairman, this law that allows, that requires for one who wishes to contest for parliament to pay 3 million shillings as nomination fees, discriminatory, does not favor the young people. That's a lot of money for young people. Maybe those who are not in employment or who have just started working, they want to run for parliament. You will require to pay 3 million. Why? Say, we are not the ones who make the law, it's parliament. We don't need parliament to change that. The young people are complaining. But if you are saying that if you want to contest to parliament, you must start with at least 500 million, that puts us off. Why do we allow that? And I've said the use of money in elections is only confined to purposes of mobilizing the agents running around the constituency, the candidate meeting with his supporters and so on, meeting with his agents, but not to bribe voters. Bribing voters is a crime in our electoral laws and is prohibited. Now on Monday, the parliamentary candidates are beginning campaigns in their respective constituencies. And I want to take this opportunity to appeal, to caution, to warn all parliamentary candidates not to bribe voters. And let the younger people be the policemen of our elections. Record any instances of bribing voters. Record them. Let the law, we have already talked to Uganda Police Force, and we have told them, for goodness sake, we must sanitize our elections. We are not going to New York, we are not going to where and say, please come and sanitize our elections. We are the ones to do it. We begin with these small efforts. Let's report those who are braving voters. They are staining our democracy. They are discouraging people who have good leadership credentials and ideas and programs, who don't have the bags of money, not to engage in politics. That's wrong. We can't continue like this. So I want to appeal to you to be advocates of clean, corruption-free elections in our country. In conclusion, let your generation, dear Banyakigezi, be the generation that watches. Let your generation not be the generation that watches our democracy dim or go on the decline. Don't allow that. Because Article 1 has said, all power belongs to the people. And I have said, for as long as there's a country called Uganda, there will always be a constitution. And I don't want to imagine, God forbid, that we shall again have someone coming up and saying, I have abrogated or closed the constitution, put it under the table. Parliament is dissolved. No more elections. I am the one to make laws. I'm parliament, I'm executive, I'm everything. I believe that will never happen again. Let it never happen again. Therefore, for as long as there is an entity called Uganda, the people shall continue to express their will and consent on who should govern them through regular, free, and fair elections. For that matter, the process of cleaning ensure the elections are indeed free and fair, starts now with you and me. As I said, our senior elders, our senior peers, they have done tremendous work. They have played their role. What is wrong? They have put the blocks in place. They have built the structure. What are you adding? Are you going to add or to subtract or to destroy? The other day I was telling the youth, I don't know where you see you. I don't know, do you know, ladies and gentlemen, even an idiot can destroy. Destruction is the cheapest thing to do. You can bring down this whole structure with less than 2,000 shillings. All you need is a matchbox. You set it here. This carpet is matches white, and this wood. And if the fire is not arrested, down. For no 1,000, 2,000 shillings, it was structure. But it will take tens of brains, hundreds of workforce, billions of shillings, and so many years to reconstruct and rebuild this structure. Destruction can be committed by even the greatest idiot, but construction requires brains, super brains, experience with vast resources. Let us not be part of that enterprise that destroys, because we're expressing our position of disenchantment or disappointment. No. Destruction does not address your problem. It aggravates. Let this generation be that rekindles democracy with integrity. One voice, one vote, one act of courage at a time. And with your voice, your values, your energy, your youthfulness, your vision, you are the future of Uganda, East Africa, and Africa at large. This country is in powerful hands when we, the young people, resolve to be focused, be disciplined, and not allow ourselves to wallow in the pits of disappointment, despair, and hopelessness. When we are overly optimistic that yes, today we have this challenge, but ask your senior peers, did you ever have challenges in your time? Did you ever feel that this challenge could probably stifle your journey or your goal? How did you overcome? How did you go around it to be where you are and to do what you've done? Success is not measured in what you have achieved, but how you have been able to go over the challenges that have made you achieve what you have achieved. Challenges are good. They keep us on our toes. They keep us innovative. They keep us creative. They keep us thinking and focused and disciplined. And say, if I don't get disciplined and focused, I'm not overcome this. So let me do what I'm required to do in order to overcome. Ladies and gentlemen, the time is now for you to get involved. And get involved now. You have what it takes to make this country better and better. Let us not allow the challenges of today, or what we see as failures, or what is drummed down our throats or down our minds as failures and shortcomings, to define our destiny. But let these shortcomings and challenges be an opportunity for us to be more creative, more intentional, provided you're focusing on that which is good for you and for your country. With these very few words, I want to thank you for listening to me. I want to wish you a very happy, prosperous New Year 2026. A year full of your dreams. And the year come January 15th, where we shall go happily, freely to a polling station and cast our votes and determine who the next president will be, the next woman member of parliament will be, the next directly elected member of parliament will be, the next order person, the president of parliament, all these positions we're talking about are going to be determined in January, between January 15th and January 2026. But remember, Uganda shall always be Uganda, and its people shall always be its people. But the Uganda we want is entirely in our hands. What is your etofali to that Uganda? Thank you. God bless you.
A round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Justice. Thank you, Simon Jawakima, for your wonderful words. And we are grateful for the kind words you told us. I guess the youth, and now we are more conversant with the electoral processes, and we can actively take the lead. From his words, he has said we should take the lead as youth, promote peace, to make sure that we also participate in our community, in our communities back home, are also mindful about the bigger country, Uganda, but also being patriotic. Thank you very much, and we are grateful. Next on the agenda, we are going to have a session for questions and answers. Before that, we have been joined by a few important people which I would wish to introduce. I have Mr. Emmanuel Nsimba, working with Parliament of Uganda. He can stand up. He's there, a very big man. Loves the youth. He can head up. We have Madame Tusigwide, an IT expert. She's seated here. Dr. John Bahana Yamga, she's there. We have Madame Pauline Shirande. You can stand up for recognition. Thank you. She's our Jacob Treasurer. We also have our own Council Von Kambala. She had contested for president in these elections, but unfortunately she didn't make it for nomination. Thank you for coming. The lady is Zoe. The lady is Zoe. We have our future president. We also have the district youth representatives. Those who have come. Anyone here? Okay, thank you. We are going to have the question and answers. I wish to first receive one from Yvonne, and then we shall have the Guild President, KIU, and then we shall take 5 questions, and then we proceed to the Chief Guest. Thank you very much. Yvonne, you can come.
Thank you so much. My name is Yvonne Bambara, as I have been introduced. I want to appreciate this dialogue. As usual, it's a form of intergenerational connection, and I feel that I really appreciate it. I recognize all the dignitaries in the room, and I hope I don't have to reintroduce it, but it's lovely to be here. Well, Mr. Jawakama, you've talked about very interesting aspects, but I think you already know what I'm about to talk about. I'm always one person in the room, ready with a hot call. Article 1 of the Ugandan Constitution, and I hope people are seeing me. They've told us power belongs to the people. It belongs to us, right? According to the Constitution. How many Ugandans here can say that power belongs to them? If we're being honest, do we have the power? You feel we do?
No.
All of you agree we have the power in Uganda. Very mixed reaction. The Constitution says all power belongs to Ugandans. Very questionable, very illusionary statements, very illusional constitution. Because we do not have the power. We fought as young people to have this power. I'm very sure most of you in this room can attest to having fought to make sure, one, we are challenging power, two, we are in positions of power, three, we are building communities and organizing. So my role here today is to shift, oh, my apologies. I usually forget to begin, but it's okay. So our role here today is to shift some of the narrative that young people keep saying to young people. Sorry, that leaders especially keep giving young people. We are constantly blamed for certain things in this country. I'm here to shift that narrative. One, I'm going to start by attacking IPO. One of our own Banyakigezi is in prison. IPO has never put out a statement in support that he should be released. When we try to hold IPO accountable, what did they tell us? They are non-partisan. Who was IPO then in last year in Kanungu and surrounding districts? The president. So who is IPO non-partisan? Is the president of Banyakigezi? I don't think so. No, he's not. He's not. The SJ is of Banyakigezi. We've never stood by him. What does non-partisan mean? Peaceful elections. I think even from yesterday, you've already seen the news. Yeah? Already the blame is on young people. But why does the state assume it has monopoly over violence? You want to beat us, you want to tell us we are reckless, but then you're seeing police arresting young people for nothing. This young lady was undressed yesterday. We wouldn't get this news if police wasn't doing all these acts. Would we? But you would become here, and the narrative we are hearing is that young people are violent. The state is violent every day. We are traumatized. The CDF will go on Twitter and start telling us, I want to arrest homeless women. Is it not violence? Where is the peaceful elections happening? Why is it happening in Uganda? We need to know. And we are constantly told that civic participation is not just during the electoral process of voting, right? It's the 5 years before and the 5 years after these processes. But in between, we are meted with violence, but then again, we are blamed. They are telling us, it's because you're jobless, we are paying you to destabilize this country. Who? You've raised us, our people, you've raised us to be these people are talking back to you. We have not inherited the silence of the fathers before us and our mothers. We are going to talk. So young people are not violent. That narrative has to change. We are doing our part for peaceful elections. We are pushing for proper electoral processes. But again, there are no ceilings to how much people are spending in elections. You're putting the burden on us and our future. How are we going to sustain this kind of elections in the coming years? 3 billion to contest for MP. You've talked about 3 billion just to go to be signed and nominated. What happens in that period? They are borrowing billions and billions of money to sustain positions, get into positions. What is your role? Why aren't you pushing your parliament? These are people you sit with in your saunas. They always tell us that's why decisions are made. Talk to them. It is your duty to talk about yourself. Because as you become here, you're going to beat us and they say we are now violent. So who is going to talk to them? How are we going to sustain these elections in the coming years? Your elders are not here. That burden is on us, these people in the room. We cannot sustain these elections anymore. And we are being honest. So we can't talk about peaceful elections when all these things are happening in the country. But we blame young people and fail to recognize the role we are playing as leaders and as elders. We are traumatized. And we need to heal as a country.
Thank you very much. The good president is be short and precise. Thank you.
All right, I intend to ride on the already established protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ainepan Major. I'm a law student at Kampala International University, Banyakigezi president of Kampala International University. I hail from Kigezi, specifically to say Chiga district. I'll be direct to the point of discussion tonight about peace. I will first sympathize with my comrade Yvonne. They stole her signatures one day before nomination. That's why she was not nominated. I don't know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I happened to get a chance to have the same topic, to present it actually to the President of the Republic of Uganda some time back. We have a big role as the young people in peacekeeping. One, we appreciate the people who grow the country, who transformed the country from tatters in 1986 up to where we are right now. And at that time, the country was riding on 3.92 US billion dollars. Now we count on 60 point something US billion dollars. It's a milestone move. We give the credit necessary. And thank you so much, Rakana, the good and right honorable, for the milestone, for what we fought for and what we believe we have to protect. And then now, when it comes to the point of peace, youth, especially to mention students, universities and tertiary institutions have become market grounds for manipulation, especially when the demanders are targeting for violence. This has come at a time where the young people have insufficiency in our ideology. The law, as it is in the books, is not how it is applied. I am a law student, just assignment. There is what we studied in the law in the class that we do not find in the faith. When you compare what Montesquieu was talked about the law of the law, equality before the law, and the supremacy of the law, there is what is lacking in the country. We are threatened. It is a threat of the young people to participate in politics. We have the platform, but I cannot now contest with someone with a bill because politics have been commercialized. This weaponizes the power of the youth. However, the government claims we have, yes, the platform, we have it. We can contest. It is no longer about biology. It has shifted to ideology. But then, are we supporting the people with the right ideology? We shall at one time find the parliament full of billionaires, but without the ideology of policy making. It is not about who has the biggest handout. It should be about who has the policy, who has the knowledge about transforming the country, especially on policies. We believe without the right policies, we not have peace in the country. We cannot have economic thriving like we would be having it if we do not have the right policies. It's very hard. He said we are encouraged to be the policemen in the election. Dear youth, I encourage ourselves to put us before God, work hard. Because you cannot be a policeman when you're hungry. Let's work. I know I want to agree with him. In 12 countries, youth or young people work hard, especially on hands-on skills. The government may not be able to take us all on, but we can still have it on. My point I'm stressing to Justice Biarakama. I haven't seen the Electoral Commission doing sensitization in universities. Uganda has the youngest population. 77% of the Ugandans are youth. They're mostly happening in universities and tertiary institutions. And actually, others are in secondary schools. You have focused on outside the institutions and universities. I request you do a mindset change, sensitization in universities. It could be through collaboration with student leaders, because they know what you do not know with the students. We have seen youth, especially students, causing or letting countries down. Of the recent we had Nepal, we have seen what has happened in Tanzania, the Genzis in Kenya. Take an example. Let's not follow the road. Let's have it. Let's cooperate with young people, especially the students and all the student-led initiatives. Otherwise, I will take long. Thank you so much. May God bless you.
Thank you very much, you President. You. going to have only and only 5 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yes, because we are bad time, so at least I've balanced all the columns.
Your guest speaker has all the time for you.
Thank you very much, Professor, and thank you very much, keynote speaker for your justice. So we have all the time now. I volunteer to move the microphone. Let's start from the other column. The other column as we come here. There's a gentleman in glasses up there, then one in a shirt. We shall have 5, then the answer, then we also have another session. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Simon. Brief talk you've given us. The questions, I have more than one. I had many, but Council has already decided one. I will start with all authority emanates from the people, who shall be given the authority to choose their leaders. Are we choosing our leaders? As the youth, are we involved in the choice of our leaders? Actually, today, you was talking about the authority that is given to the people to choose their leaders, that it is done with parliament. But with the parliament we have today, I don't think it is working for the people. Because actually, we no longer have leaders in Uganda. We have, I think it is a profession now to go in parliament, because the level when you are doing what we call business, we invest, and with the commercialization of politics today, MPs are investing. That means they are going to get profits in this parliament. So they are no longer leaders. They are going for jobs in parliament. So if you say that authority, I think we have been observing whatever parliament has been doing, and I don't think they speak from the point of view of the people. They will say they have gone to their people, but really what they translate in that parliament is not the voice of the people, but their voice. Then you talked, the people shall express their will and consent on who shall govern them and how they should be governed. I think, as she asked here, who has the power? I think when you're speaking that people have the power, but I think power is in a few. I think right now, Simon, if you are to speak, what you say will be fine. Even us here, we shall not. Even Professor might agree with you. So the power is with a few of you, but not with the people. Then you have talked when you talked about the Supreme Court in the 2001 petition by Bestia and the Electoral Commission. Uganda shall hold free and fair elections. I don't think Uganda has ever had fair and free elections. Except, and I don't think even when the current government went to war, it was not a fair, and I don't think Uganda has ever had any fair and fair. From what the Supreme Court ruled, the free, fair and election starts from the nomination. And from the nomination, I think, if I'm to remember, more than 100 people had picked forms for nomination. But I think right now, how many candidates? Are they 8? And from the Supreme Court, it says the free and fair election starts from nomination. So from that point of view, I don't think if I was the judge, I would rule out any free and fair election from nomination day. You say campaigns. I think we follow campaigns before we even vote the MPs. From how far the campaigns have gone, if I were you, Justice Simon Yamaka, I would have cancelled this election because the campaign trail is not fair and fair. So these ones cannot be termed as free and fair elections. You said I'm still on the ruling in the Supreme Court in the 2001 election of Dr. Nestor versus Electoral Commission. You've talked of free from intimidation. I'm telling you today, if you are to say you're for noob here, even I can't be sure, but you can't say that because you may fear that a black person who came with Justice Simon Yamaka, he may ask your name on the tape and like, who is that person? What is the name? So I can't say there is free and fair, free from intimidation.
Let's summarize your question.
I think I'm asking from what he submitted. I'm not going far from it. Then you talked of corruption, bribing, over commercialization. I think if this was a normal state, a democratic state, I think Honorable Simon Yamaka should have resigned because corruption. Also, in your heart, you know it. This election, corruption is high in it. Bribing, even the recently concluded NRM elections. I think the money spent in those elections is, I think it is higher than even the money that will be spent in the national elections. So commercialization is. So I don't think when you say that 2026 elections is going to be free and fair elections, now I said from the beginning, from the nomination day, according to the Supreme Court judgment, I don't think in your right senses you would say that the 2026 elections will be free and fair. Then you talked about
Thank you.
thank you
Please,
for that.
we are
I'll
against
ask
time.
again later.
Thank you. The next one, that lady in the blue coat and the gentleman in black. Please tell us your name and your question. Be specific, eh? Less than 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. Once again, I'm called Cynthia Emily. I have only 3 questions and I'll be precise. The first question is when we are getting to the voters register, some of the students were still at campus and weren't registered back to their places of residence and they would like to vote from there. I would like to know, because it wasn't to the sensitization of some students who were at campus to go back home to register in the voters register. So how are we going to go back home and vote? And we going against our right to voting. Another question is, Justice has talked about bribes. I don't think it is what is happening back in the village and in the field. Bribes has become something that is so much for everyone that even a candidate, by the time he's coming to do the campaign, the first thing he has to do is to first bring money to the people so that they can come and gather. So I don't know how the Electoral Commission is going to handle that so that we can take away bribes and give a chance for the people who would have the ability to lead but do not have the monetary support to the voters. Another question is, we have been studying and hearing our elders talking about future leaders of tomorrow. We are already in our future. We don't have a chance to lead. The time I go back to my village to stand as an MP, trust me, I don't have even 1%. Because the other people who are leading will bring millions of money to the people and the money to give to them. That means that I don't have a chance to lead the people. So, Honorable Justice, I would like to know, what is the stand for us, the young people? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, the gentleman in black. We finished the floor. Please, let's be precise.
Thank you very much. I'm Joab Tukume, Makerere University. Thank you, Justice. I am under UNAO, Uganda National Association of Uganda, Makerere chapter. I recently went to the General Secretary and asked him to come and put the list, but he is no longer coming. Because his reason was the youth always decides what is happening. They no longer want to take action. My brother Major said 77% of Ugandans are youth. So to be practical, if IMC had 1 million and it gives out to people, what portion of the youth taken? That is 77% of the money. So it is us, the youth, that are really taking out the money and making the politicians invest a lot in the elections. If we stand out and refuse that money as youth, we are fighting commercialization of politics. Yes. I am a student of
Let's listen to submission.
I am a student of development and I don't want to go to law and that's why I intend to be part. So I will come to Madam Chairperson. You said we have 3 students who graduated and you said they are ladies. So I don't know the criteria that you use to make the ladies. Where are you using the boy child? The boy child, I don't know whether IPOP is also considering the boy child. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let's give time to Honorable Justice to react to those ones and then we proceed with others.
Thank you, the young Banyakigezi. Mwagamba Kawachike. Blunt and straight. Take it or leave it. But when I waited for you, I didn't see nomination day. You told the story of signature, sorry about that. I think someone wanted to disenfranchise you. Now, I think I respect and agree with Ubos' anger. That is it. The question is, this anger that the youth have, how should it be utilized? I think that's the critical question. How do we transform this anger and utilize it? Is it for destructive purposes or for progressive, constructive ideas and actions? I always equate the youth to the first phase of a river. When in my geography class, I remember, I don't know whether I still teach the same thing. The river has 3 stages: the youthful stage, the middle stage, then the old stage. The youthful stage, the river is full, the water is ferocious. You have waterfalls, you have cascades, and so on. That's why they tap those waterfalls and harness power from the waterfalls. So therefore, this anger, this energy, and the vibe the youth have should be harnessed into constructive processes. And indeed, I agree with you that we need to address the critical issues that we as young people view as impeding on our opportunity to be active participants in the processes that define the democratic journey of our country. But the question is, how are we going to do it? Is it by daily demonstrations? We're expressing our disappointment, our disgust, our disapproval by going out on the streets, confronting security, banning anything in our way. No, that is not it. Then when the young people sit down as one critical voice and express their views and ideas, and they seek to hold those in leadership to account, the people in leadership will listen. But there is saying that violence begets violence. When you want to pursue the violent path, to express your views and your enchantment, then those in authority will not allow this to prevail, because you are going to destabilize the country. So coercive means will be applied to counter you. Have we tried, as Banyakigezi, as young people, to express our views in a civil manner of dialogue, discussion, and engagement? And those who have the decision-making authority have cast everything you have said under the carpet, under the table. My view, do I look at it as very conscious effort to give the people, the young people of Uganda, a voice? That's why today, the government that came in 1986 made a deliberate, cautious effort to put in place leadership right from the ground by setting up LOC1 committees, by making the people sit in their respective village committees, deliberate on matters that concern them, and express whatever is of concern through the established channels. The young people are represented at every leadership structure, right from the village to the parish, to the sub-county, to the district, to the national level. But how are we utilizing these structures? I've told you that the young people form what we call part of the special interest groups in our electoral cycle or calendar. They hold their own elections to elect their own leaders, right from the village up to the national level, to parliament. They have no structures. So you cannot tell me that the young people have been denied an opportunity, they have been denied a voice. Some of the young people we see now, either in the cabinet, or some of the people we see in cabinet or parliament, they started off through these structures, youthful structures. They get elected into parliament, end up in the cabinet, and so on and so on. So in my own view, therefore, as a lawyer, I can say there is ample or sufficient evidence to demonstrate that an effort has been made by the powers that be to give the youth a voice, to give them an opportunity to present themselves for leadership. The question we should interrogate ourselves as young people: how have we utilized these opportunities? As someone said, the young people elect you, how many positions you have in parliament? Young people, and they 5. Ask, since this process started, what have the people who have sent to parliament advanced as the cause for young people? Interrogate. Ask yourself. Now, where are peaceful elections happening in Uganda? And I think this one is connected with the question my brother up there asked. Uganda, the concept of a free and fair election as defined by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court did not say free and fair elections start with the activity of nominations. Instead, since I've been given the time, the whole electoral cycle starts from the ground, with the Electoral Commission going to talk to the people to find out, since 2021, has there been a new village, a new parish, a new sub-county created in your area? Because according to our law, the elective positions for the secret ballot start at councillor level. A councillor representing this sub-county, a sub-county which is comprised of parishes. So every sub-county must have a youth councillor, a male councillor, a female councillor, and so on and so forth. By the way, let me tell you something. When you look at the Ugandan democratic electoral processes, we are the most democratic because we have given every, let me tell you, we have given every category of individuals an opportunity to be represented. Persons with disabilities, they have their own representation, even in the village committee, parish committee. Persons with disabilities are represented, sub-county, district, national parliament. Older persons, they have their own slots also at village and so on. The youth, you do. Even workers, we have been hearing now petitions that Julia said. Hundreds. Last night we left at 11 p.m. the board. Listen to petitions, those who got nominated, those who are denied the opportunity to get nominated, and they think they should have been nominated. They petition the commission. Please allow me on the ballot paper. Your returning officer refused to nominate me for wrong reasons. And we sit as a court. The law says we sit as a quasi-judicial body to listen to this. They have been coming with lawyers, senior lawyers, to argue their cases. All manner of people, not really parliament or district chairpersons, councillors. The other day, we had some girl died, not very old, but ordinary, what we call peasant women, not in a derogatory manner, peasant women from Gwen. They came, four of them. One was challenging the candidature with the other for councillor to this councillor. Ground reasons, this one already has a job. The law says before you get you seek nomination for leadership, you must have resigned from your job. This one is on a school board. She's earning some money already. Why does she want us to go for this over council? That should be for me. Look at my hands. I only did. She wants to have two jobs. One of the school board, one of council. No, she should have resigned. That's how animated people are about whether it is for real leadership reasons or, as my brother said, for something else. I don't know. But the point I'm making is this. This country, the system we have now, has given every group of individuals an opportunity to be represented at leadership level. But we should ask these groups, what have you benefited us from the time we say you can represent us? You, 5 years down the road, you are representing the youth, or older persons, or persons with disabilities. Can you give us your accountability? We want to see your accountability in terms of service and representation of the issues that concern us. What have you done? So, in my view, one, this country is democratic. The question, how do we exercise this democracy? How do we carry out the processes that ensure we realize it's real? and productive, that's a different. When we have identified the polling at the electoral areas which need political representation or leadership, then we go to identify the polling stations where will the voters in this area vote from. That is part and parcel of a free and fair election. We don't sit in our boardrooms on 7th Street and say, now, in Wamuchu, Sabo County, the polling station will be here or there. Our people must go to the ground, interface with the people who are going to vote from those areas and say, this location is this one. The registration of voters, those who are first-time voters, is part and parcel of a free and fair election. Are the people well informed? Are they well sensitized that this is the time for them to register as voters? We carried out massive publicity and sensitization that all those Gen Zs who never voted in 2021 were now 18. Please come and register. The law also allows you to change your voting location. It is permitted in law. If you vote, in 21, you voted from Kampala. In 26, you want to vote from your home district, Banyakigezi sub-region. You are at liberty to transfer your voting location, provided where you want to vote from now as your new polling station is within the parish of your residence or region. The fact that I'm a Munyoro does not mean I can go to any polling station in Munyoro and say, since I'm a Munyoro, I want to vote from here. No. Are you resident in this parish? Or do you originate from this parish? That is the criteria. We gave that opportunity. That is also another tenet of free and fair election. So therefore, and we have said, the main reason I brought out this description or interpretation of free and fair election of the Supreme Court is to point out the various tenets that constitute a free and fair election, where and identify who are the actors. When we talk of campaigns, who are the actors for campaigns? When we talk of nomination, who are the actors for nominations? When we talk of no bribery or use of money to influence voters, who are the actors who perpetuate bribery? When we talk of no violence and intimidation, who is responsible for creating an environment of intimidation? People tend to focus on security. But do you know even we non-armed people intimidate others? Do you know? When you use language threatening people, we know you like this person, you shall see. You are going to see. After the elections, you will see. The other day, someone told me she has a saloon somewhere where she's employing these foreigners who are seeking refuge in Uganda. See, the foreigners have started expressing fear. Why? That some people have told them, you people, when this election is over, you will see, you will see, you will see. That is intimidation. When you go and start mobilizing people, instilling in them a fire of defiance. The moment this one is done, you better start and invade these areas. Come out in thousands of numbers. We must show them we are here. That is intimidation. And that's why the law creates an offense for anyone to intimidate anybody. It's an offense. Who are the perpetrators of intimidation? Is it our cows and goats and chicken in our homes? It's we the people. So that's why we say, if Ugandans want a free and fair election, peace, devoid of corruption, devoid of violence, devoid of intimidation, let every player, every actor who has a role to play, act within the period. And we shall have very peaceful elections. We have been having very peaceful presidential campaigns. Then the presidential candidates themselves, many have said, oh, this is really good. This is very good. They will not have this kind of think before. Until I'm told yesterday, unfortunately, I was in the boardroom from 10:30 a.m. until 11 p.m. listening to petitions, people who are petitioning those who are. So I didn't watch the news. The time I got home to midnight, the news was over until I switched on my phone and then saw there was a disruption or some disturbance. But all these things are uncalled for, ladies and gentlemen. I can stand here on my 2 feet and say all those things could have been avoided. We have said time and again, police candidates. This is the law. The law says the Electoral Commission may determine the manner and time for campaigns by candidates. We have the power under the law. We lay out the guidelines premised on the law. The law says you shall hold your campaigns between 7 to 6 p.m. It is in the law. But we have seen candidates campaigning beyond 6 o'clock. Are you going to say the Electoral Commission is a failure? You want to be a leader. And I thought one of the hallmarks of leadership is obedience to the law. But if you're a leader, you don't want to obey the law, how about your subjects? What cue are you giving them? We say no processions along public roads for goodness sake. We have questioned many. We have held 2 meetings with the security people and the agents of presidential candidates to review and assess how the process is going on. And we are brought out. Say, please, look at this one. Look at this one. This is contrary to the law. Avoid it. You don't have to go waving to all the banana trees and plantations because you're a presidential candidate. You go to the designated venue and address the people. They were there. The police, I've been in constant touch with the police. Say, Chairman, look at this. Let me engage. We don't want to create a trajectory which puts our country in bad image, that we are not able to have peaceful elections. Been engaging with the presidential candidate through their agents. Say, please tell your candidate when he did this, it was wrong, it was against them. We have been engaging them. But either some people are genetically unruly, or they want to create a macho image about themselves of not being, or they are allergic to complying with the law, good sense, good conduct. I don't know, honestly, I don't know. But what happened yesterday could have been avoided. They were going to engage with every actor, every player. Said, how do we avoid this? Maybe some people, that's what they want to see. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's what some people want to see. But for us who have this country, who know that the country can live in happily, it's Uganda. We must do everything possible to ensure we avoid some of these episodes. So to me, we can only have peaceful elections when every actor is involved. Look at what happened in Kawepe North, for instance. The Electoral Commission organized the elections. We delivered all materials in time. Every voter knew where he or she was going to vote from. We deployed and delivered materials. Voting took place. For those who wanted to vote, they came and voted. But towards the end, when counting had started, some people, some ill-mannered people came and invaded some polling station and destroyed the results, everything. So the results from these polling stations could not be submitted to the tally center because they were not. The Electoral Commission went ahead and declared the results from the polling stations, which results could be available. Someone went to court and said there are 16 polling stations, 14 or 16, where results were not declared. Showed that the Electoral Commission did not conduct the election in accordance with the law. Why? Because the results from these polling stations were not declared. So it failed in its duty. So the court agreed with the House, said we cancel the election. Repeat. Who was responsible? If it had not happened, maybe the court would not have announced. What value did it add to that electoral process? What value? Nothing. If anything, it solved the value of the process. So, young people, I want to encourage you, we can have peaceful elections in our country, provided you play an intentional role of ensuring there is peace. You can have. Yes, I share your anger with them. How can we have a democracy that is on auction? Billions and billions of shillings being spent in an election. That's democracy on auction. How can we have that? The young people do not have such billions. What is their fate in the electoral process as candidates, as the leaders? That's what we must say no. When we stand out and speak against, that's why we say, if you identify somebody doing it, please let us initiate the legal process. It is an offense under the laws to bribe and fraud. It's an offense. Irrespective of how much money you give, whether it is 1,000 shillings, 2,000 shillings, it's an offense. And if that person is convicted, the penalty is either 3 years imprisonment or a fine of 1.4 million shillings. Yeah, I would love to see someone who gives out 2,000 shillings to a voter being arrested and charged and prosecuted, convicted, and fined for 1.4 million. You gave out 2 million, you are fined 1.4 million. That will be deterrence. But for as long as we don't create deterrence, these things even now, they produce grandchildren and great-grandchildren. When people, whereas people used to use 200 million, now it has 500, 1 billion. No deterrence, no deterrence. You can start the process of deterrence and kick out corruption from our elections. We are not saying young people are fired. This is not what I mean. In fact, I say young people are victims of manipulation. Young people have dreams. They have dreams. They have visions. But because of the current environment they are in, the circumstances they are in, some people want to exploit those circumstances, the negative circumstances the young people are in, and say, because you are like this, you can't do this. So they are not violent. They are very young people. Nobody was born an elder. Dr. Ubos was not born as he is, or professor. No, even me. We pass through these processes. Yes, mindset change is critical. Now, question. My brother, I didn't get his name. I want to assure you, Article 1 of the Constitution is inviolable. It's sacrosanct. It says what it does, and it means what it says, and that is it. But like any law in the statute books, the law only becomes reality, becomes beneficial when we apply it. When we all strive to apply the law, that's when it is beneficial to us. So Article 1 is not, you cannot give any other interpretation to Article 1. But the processes that actualize Article 1 is what we should be looking at. You are saying Uganda has never, by the way, let me question you, my everyone who's in this room. A free and fair election is not synonymous with a perfect election. Those are two distinct things. A free and fair election does not mean a perfect election. There's no thing as a perfect election in the world. Zero. Which country? So, when you talk of perfections, perfection is, my understanding is only heaven where there are perfections. But on this planet Earth, you are going to be encountering imperfections, challenges. Heaven, yes. Here on earth, forget it. So a free and fair election is not a perfect election, and that's why the courts have said it's not every irregularity, it's not every shortcoming, it's not every shortfall in an election that will render the outcome null and void. The question is, how substantial were these irregularities to the entire process? A substantiality test. That's what that's what they will say. The substantiality test. If you are going to say, for every wrong, every omission, every irregularity, the election is null and void, you will never have an election in any part of the world. The other day in the famous America, I think Trump was complaining, they stole my election, they stole my election. And the people went and invaded. Invaded what? Their parliament. What do we call it? You can imagine the United States of America. Where of us, where do I live? The lack of dreams. Wherever there are human enterprises and human activities, you expect the imperfections to arise, because no human being is perfect, not there. But I'm not saying the law solve these shortcomings. How do you address them? That's why the law keeps on making improvements. How do we improve on this? That's why we cherish these engagements. What is your law? What can you do to ensure we get rid of this? So, in my view, one, the people who picked nomination forms, including my sister Yvonne, they were over 200, not 100, 200. Then you see, picking the forms was the easiest part. Easy. Because we are not charging any money for these forms. All you needed was put some fuel in your vehicle, drive to the 7th Street. We give you the form free of charge. You'll come on a board of 2,000 shillings. You pick the form free of charge. The law says you must get 100 supporters from every district constituting 98 districts of the country. That's where the people made the greatest happen. And mind you must get the support, the names and signatures of supporters. But some people will sit somewhere. Maybe they have a record of our voters. It's just producing. Some of the lists we are looking at, someone writes a list of supporters. Akugizibwe, Amanyire, Ainabiona, Ankunda, in alphabetical order. You want to tell me in the area you went in, you only got supporters whose name is alphabetical order. Alphabetical order. Then you come to B, you come to C. Alphabetical order. You know what happened? Many of these people are not consulted to support these aspirants. They were just putting their name. Then when you look at the signatures, someone just sits. You just see, even though I'm not a handwriting expert, you just see someone who sat down here, Ankunda, then another NK, then the same hand just producing signatures. Same one. You submit your names, we verify. Every name on that list will verify. One, is that person a registered voter in that district? Some of them were mixing up voters. That's why once we find this person, although a voter, but is in the council, they have not fulfilled the quota. So it is not that it was deliberate denial of people to come from the nation. Campaign trail is not free and fair. Why? After the candidate is nominated, the law says before they hit the campaign trail, they shall settle down before the returning officer agree in their campaign schedule, so that you don't collide in one area. They agree. The guidelines governing campaigns are the same for everybody, including the incumbent who is a candidate, subject to those guidelines. The only difference for him is the law permits him to maintain, to utilize the facilities of his office, although he's a candidate. That is the law. In the law, we say what was the spirit behind this provision. A country must remain with the leadership. When you have elections, you must have a leader. When you have elections, I've not seen of any country which says, now that we are going to elections, incumbent you also come in. You are no longer president. You are like the rest of us. Mind you, the term of that leader expires on 12th of May, 2026. So even throughout the election season, he's president. That's why the law says, for you, because you have to continue executing the duties and functions of the state as a leader, maintain the services or the facilities. But for every other people, it is the same. We treat them the same on equal basis. Now, if someone says, if you move here, you'll be in trouble. The other day, well, as I said, we are listening to these petitions, the commission, all sorts of people from all sorts of political parties. So I think some young men, I think they had that foot soldier kind of mantle around them. Came, red beret. Came with the t-shirt and blazer with a picture of the priest. We expected it. We will come in the boardroom, have a seat. What's the problem? This. When you nominated people like this, our candidate was the nine put it. Very good. Anything else? Yes. After I said, hey, Chairman, can we have a group photo with you? I said, oh, good. Well, come. And I said, but won't the priest will be annoyed with you? Take a good photograph of the chairman. But the point I'm making is, look, the people are free to express themselves. That's their constitution. So even if you are moved or DP or whatever, because what you subscribe to is constitution, you won't be faulted. But, let me make this, but the fact that you subscribe to this party or the other one does not give you a free license to break outside the law. If you act contrary to the law enforcement is obliged to deal with you and put you to order. That is a given. The fact that I am a candidate does not place me above the law. I'm below the law. Therefore, even when you are so hot, your blood is so hot about your party, you don't want to see anybody standing in the face of your party. Don't, please, abide. So, brother, if you have our red beret, you're free to. Commercialization, I agree, and I think we have said this. I agree entirely with every young person who is averse, who is disgusted with the commercialization of elections. You are my partner in the progress. We must say no to this vice. We must say no to this vice. It's a stain. We cannot allow this. Supposing last night I broke into people's shops and stole their money or merchandise and I raised 1 billion shillings. Then I come and say, I want to leave. What? Is that leadership? Is that the kind of democracy we want? No. Please, let's join hands to fight corruption in our elections. How will EC handle? That's why I'm talking to you. The issue is not the Almighty God, who sees everything we do in private or in public or in our hearts. He's the only one who knows. We cannot go running after everybody who is bribing voters. We don't have the money, the means. That's why we work with the law enforcement. That's why we must work with the police. And let me tell you this. Anyone who thinks that we can run elections in this country without the role of security, you're a dead dreamer. Why? Because of the way we are handling our elections. I asked the stakeholders the other day, forgotten where, say, I have heard, by the way, some people have already sold off their houses. I think you've heard, you didn't sell your house, put in elections. You sold. Chitaro. But people sell off their properties in Kololo, indeed, where? And they seek the money where? Now, let's be objective. Let's be real. I sell my property in Kololo. I seek 1 billion shillings in an election. You expect me to lose it, or to desire to lose it, or to expect to lose it, or to want to lose it? When I'm searching 1 billion, you think I will lose? So, because people are inclined to do what it takes to win, we must have security come in to contain the situation. Otherwise, we will not have elections. Take it from you. See, Jeremy, students not being registered, but don't you have polling stations that say, I don't know, they are at Makerere or UCU? Do we have polling stations in universities? Are they there? We do. At least I know Makerere has polling stations. And we say, for instance, if you're in 2026, you're a continuing student, you won't have completed your course. And 15th, maybe we'll find you when you have just resumed or something. That is your place of residence. You register to vote from the place of residence. So if you're in a Lumumba or Huchika hostel, you register at the nearest polling station to that hostel. So students were given an opportunity to register. Those who wanted to register to vote from their villages, who know in January will be at home after Christmas, will be at home, you're gonna apply to register from your place of origin or residence of your parents. But at least everybody was given an opportunity to register as a voter. So, youth leaders are saying you don't have a chance to lead. Who says that? Who says you don't have a chance to lead? When the opportunities are there. But are you positioning yourself strategically? Are you strategic in your quest for leadership? Or are you just branding yourself? Right? The fact that you are youth does not mean that people just say you are youth. Come and take a piece. You must distinguish yourself with distinction. You must show the credentials. You must be strategic. You must be focused. You must show positivity. You must show leadership. Start from the lowest ranks, and then you climb up. So I don't subscribe to the notion that the young people are not given a chance to lead. No, that is not. It is the young people making people spend money. I don't know, but I don't know where Tukume got that from. But I think some candidates have told me when you talk to them, say, Chairman, they don't know what you're talking about. When you go to address a rally, as the first people listen to you for 5 minutes, after that they start signaling you are faster. You want something to drink. If you don't give money, your opponent will give money. Then you're finished. So what do I understand? The other day, by the way, we say no more fundraising in the churches, in the mosques, in the communities. Now, campaign season, no more fundraising. Some of these aspirants came and whispered to me, Chairman, what yamba? But can you give out more of those messages against using money? decided. But they cannot come out. You come out, take go. You will say, okay, for you think you are going to speak to us only. Okay, we will. That's why the law said, if you look at that law, it's not only the giver who is liable for prosecution, but even the receiver. The giver of the bribe and the receiver have the same offense called bribery. So for me, I'm very positive that one, we can have and we hold free and fair elections in the context of the input of every actor, every player. We can have peaceful elections. We don't need to doubt about paper in the blood of Ugandans in order for us to say our elections were very good. So many people died. And so many people's lives were broken. We don't need that. So, as a commission, we are determined to ensure, working with every Ugandan at every level, we have peaceful, free, and fair elections. What you put in is what you get out. Any other round of questions? Or they are all?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Friends, Mozambians snap me against them. We should first stand up, refresh for a little bit, and then we will come to chief guest. We cannot take more questions. Please, let's stand up. We'll refresh for a bit. Aiko boy. Aiko boy. Banyakigezi. Banyakigezi. Okay, thank you. You can take your seat. With the given to me as your moderator, it's now time to invite our chief guest, Professor John Kabonyela, to come and give his brief remarks. Then after we shall have the launch of our strategic plan 2026-2031, and we have closing remarks from Ndugu Rugunda, and then we close. Thank you.
Where should I sit? There or up? Well. Thank you very much. Our guest speaker, Justice Jawakama, Right Honorable Bakana Mukunda, the leadership of ICO, youth members of ICO, indeed, it's fantastic that we have been able to gather here. I hadn't met you people for a very long time, and I will make a few remarks because I'm advised the time is against us. The first remark I will make is to thank our guest speaker, who is moving out. Yes, for an urgent call. I think really he has acquitted himself. So I want us to because more often than not, people don't speak their mind. But he spoke his mind, and that's why many of you got provoked, which I totally agree with. I agree with those who got provoked, and that's how it should be. You have brains. Yes, you don't just take in. You take in, you process, and discharge. So we thank him very much for having found the time to be with us. I want to thank the organizers of this meeting, especially Dr. Andrew, who was on me hard to make sure that I come and attend this function. But I'm extremely happy that I eventually agreed with you to come. And you know, the biggest speaker said you people spoke bluntly as a Wachika. I want you to know that I am a Wachika 311. Both in character and behavior, and even in the way I speak. So I had refused to come. Why? Because I had a very lousy experience with some of you in Kabale several years ago. And I don't take nonsense. But I'm extremely happy. I've never seen such a disciplined organization. Very, very much. Really, I'm grateful. It is important that you belong to organizations. Because if you are not organized, as individuals, you can never achieve anything. So I implore you to continue to belong to this organization, however even imperfect it may be. But when you are working together, you exchange ideas, you exchange views, you can get what you want achieved, realized. So it is important to belong to organizations like this one. Of course, as young people, your immediate interests is to address those issues that affect you. Indeed, many of you are going to be graduates very soon. You will probably be frustrated by finding no jobs. Unemployment is a worldwide problem. It's not peculiar to Uganda alone. There are very few countries in the world where there is no unemployment. So it's an issue that must be handled by those in power, but it's not an easy one. Part of the problem, of course, is our uncontrolled population growth. Most countries which have achieved reasonable employment for everybody are countries which have controlled their population. In fact, countries like Sweden, which some of you envy, actually their population, instead of growing, is going what? Down. And that's why they are able to find employment for everybody. For as long, and unfortunately, among us in this country, in Africa in general, it's only our parents who are incapable of even sending their children to the lowest class that produce a lot of children. I'm sure all of you, when you graduate, none of you will ever have as many as 10 children. How many of you, especially the men, how many of you men will have more than 10 children? Put up your hand. But you go to the villages, you'll find people who have got 12 children and above. So I think the issue of population control is an important issue to look at. You people should mind about education. I tell you, there is nothing more important in this world than knowledge. You have to have knowledge. And since you have had the opportunity to go to school, I implore you not only to know your families, know the district you come from, know the region you come from, know the area we come from, East Africa, even know the world. The guest speaker referred to the United States when he was talking about imperfect electoral processes. If electoral processes were perfect, there's no way the United States would have elected Trump. No way. A country like that, I don't want to use the nasty words, but that man, you can call him anything you want, and it probably will fit him. So elections can't be perfect. So knowledge of the world around you is very important. And I think our guest speaker, this is a very relevant meeting, especially with regard to what I hear is going on in Tanzania. The leadership of this country is challenged to live up to the expectation of the people. You cannot blame the people when they react. We who studied some science, we talk of underlying causes. What are the underlying causes of dissatisfaction or even violence? Therefore, it is not only these young men and the women that must observe the rule of the law. The leadership of the country must meet the expectation of the people. Our guest speaker, Honorable Rakani Rubunda, ladies and gentlemen, personally, I often wonder whether democracy, the way it is known in the West, is the most suited system for us. There is no way you can have a person who is going to participate in an election and he's a cattle rustler in Karabuja. And he has the same vote as you. In my village where I was born, those of you who come from Nyarushanji, Kabuga in the hills, the last time, sir, I was in an election, they all voted for me. But before voting, they all sat and said, before they drank some tonto, they were not going to vote. Yes, they were going to vote, but they said, we just want to vote. They wanted tonto first. I want to declare what happened. But you can't imagine for yourself. Now, sir, again, ladies and gentlemen, this thing called money is nothing you're going to go and teach. I can assure you. Number one, money is the only language most of our people understand. Now, no other language. You can be fantastic speakers you want. You can be a very good person. This man, Rugunda, is a good man by any imagination. But let him go to Kavala and ask for a vote. So our people, the only language they understand is money. For as long as the electorate is as uneducated as it is today, you cannot do without money. Secondly, sir, I personally think that someone said it incidentally. He said politics has become a profession. People go there for work. Simple. In the United States, the president of America earns 1/10 of what the president of General Motors earns. 1/10. President of General Motors will earn more than $2 million a month. The president of America will earn only 200,000. The American politicians are among the most poorly paid people. For as long as the politicians in this country are probably the best paid, people will try and buy those jobs. So we need to think about the remuneration of politicians. Do people go there to serve or they go there to earn? So, sir, I always wonder whether democracy is the way it should be, as known in the West. Those of you who are around the early times of the 9/11, we were operating a movement system of government. I happen to have been in the cabinet then with and others. But I think that system, if it was developed, it probably would have been the best thing for this country. As long as you don't have socio-economic, philosophical issues, whether you are conservative or you are a socialist, you are a communist, as long as we don't have those identifications, I do not think that democracy as is known in the West is the best for us. I don't know. One time we had a meeting here, Africa, Caribbean, Pacific, and the European meeting. And the president of this country President Museveni made an observation. He wondered why Africa was always consuming ideas of others and we are never contributors to those ideas. Why can't we develop our own system that suit our circumstances rather than copying from those people who have different circumstances? Political parties in Europe, as it is known, have developed because of the circumstances in those countries. The Labour Party for workers, the Conservative Party for the money, protecting their wealth. So, it is in here, what do the political parties represent? We have 8 presidential candidates. How many of you can tell me the agendas, what do you call them? The manifestos of these 8 candidates? How are you going to decide on whom to vote for? You're probably going to look at their history, their faces, maybe where they come from, things like that. Therefore, our politics a valid organizational system for us. Ask yourselves, why has China succeeded to where it is? Is it a democracy? Absolutely not. You all know a country called Singapore. When Lee Kuan Yew was in charge, was he practicing democracy the way the Western world, the Western countries do? The answer is no. And eventually the economists will tell us what is right is that which works. Therefore, my parting remark, think again, is democracy as is known in the West, the way we should go as Africa. You want to remember, ladies and gentlemen, that even in the Western world, you know, in the United States, those who founded the United States spoke that we know it is self-evident that all men are born equal. The people who said that we are slave owners. There are people who said that it was self-evident that all men are born equal, we are slave owners. Therefore, that statement did not apply to the black people like you and I. Lastly, elections. Our elections is the best way to decide leadership. We were chicken. And I think it applies to people from Australia. Above which is Romurao. That is the woman. Now, the Wachiga never had elections, but we always identified our leaders through sitting down and discussing and identifying. So and so is a brave man, he runs his home fairly well, therefore he's our leader. Why can't people sit down and arrive at a consensus about their leaders? Since these elections that Justice Joe Kamezi don't work very well. And in any case, young men, I don't want you to be unnecessarily obsessed about being elected into leadership positions. You can actually influence the course of history in your country without even being elected to LC1. Martin Luther King never stood for election, LC1 election. Rosa Parks, remember those who have read some history, she never stood for anything, but those people changed the history of politics in the United States. Therefore, don't look at elective offices as the only way you can influence the course of history in your country. I want to thank you very much. I want to wish you very well. It's getting closer to Christmas. So those I don't see again, best Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and January 15, vote wisely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief Guest, Professor Chancellor Emeritus, George Mondo Kagonye. And now at this juncture, we shall have the launch of our strategic plan, the ICOP Youth Strategic Plan. It is rich and we shall share online. Other people can also read and see what we are heading for. I now invite the high table. Okay, we are going to first have a brief about the strategic plan, and we shall launch it. And then after we shall have our birthday boy. By the way, and at last we shall sing the birthday song. Who is our patron to give the closing remarks? Thank you.
It's good afternoon once again. Thank you for bearing with us up to this time. I'm here to briefly talk about the strategic plan, which ICOP Youth Chapter developed starting from the last year. The vision of a strategic plan for the youth in Chigezi, it began through a consultative meeting that was hosted by the Right Honorable Dr. Hakana Rugunda in November last year, in which the district youth leaders and some other student leaders who were around at that particular time resolved that we need a strategic plan to guide interventions related to youth programs in the region. The 2026-2031 strategic plan was developed in consultation with the leaders, the youth leaders at the district level, the youth leaders at the university level, the ICOP Uganda Chapter Board and Executive, and we shall soon be sharing the final copy for all of you to see. We developed 4 strategic objectives. The first one is to build capacity for the ICOP Uganda chapter through recruitment of new members and also enhancing partnerships with other organizations. The second objective is to act as a platform for advocacy, for increased youth participation in decision-making processes. The third is to lobby and advocate for increased resource mobilization for youth programs for the youth, including ventures like the parish development model. And the last is to equip the youth with skills to address unemployment. So at this particular point, I'll invite Dr. Ndisibe Prosper and Nwari and Christine to join us, and then we shall invite the chief guest and the members of the high table to launch the strategic plan. Yes, I think Right Honorable Dr. Ayukan. we are going to sign on the dummy. This is the cover of the strategic plan for the youth. As I had earlier outlined, there are 4 strategic objectives. One, to address unemployment. Another, for increased advocacy for youth participation in positions of decision making. Another would be on increased recruitment of members within the IPOP Uganda chapter. We have an ambitious goal to increase this chapter to around 5,000 by the end of that year. And we hope to have breakout sessions in workshops to have ideas on how we can achieve this goals. Yes, thank you very much.
It's our great pleasure to launch the youth strategic plan.
Thank you. Everyone, thank you. As the elder signed our strategic plan, we would wish the youth Kutula Mele, after sharing the final copy, I would wish that we participate accordingly and everyone has been included in our strategic plan such that we can have our goals and objectives met. We thank Honorable Justice Simon to also be among the team to sign the strategy. Our chief guest, Professor John Monokakonyela, our ICOP board chair, Dr. John Mahana, our chairperson, Madam Grace Mugavire, Pauline Michilande. Thank you very much, Madam Tusingwile. You can also sign. The youth leaders. Thank you.
By the way, the one thing I didn't say you people you may not know about me. 60 years ago, I was as young as you. Yes, and I was always involved in student leadership. I was a young man, but I was also a leader. So I have an idea about the problems of young people. I was also, Rohan and I, we are UPC youth wingers. Yes, but you see, you must be very active. That's why in 1980, when changes had to come, by and large, we were in the forefront of the leadership for that change. So for me, I encourage you guys, don't sit back, don't be, what's the right word? But get out there and work. There is someone who once told me it is better to try and fail than fail to try. You guys should have no excuse and don't feel disturbed when you disagree with your education. Because someone who tells you where you are going wrong is more of your friend than one who sings you lullaby. Okay? So I'm a Banyakigezi 311. I went to Gezi High School. I went to Gezi College. That's what. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. It's wonderful.
Thank you very much. Photo moment first. The good president was enjoying the this opportunity, we would also like you to join the photo. Someone can take a photo, you also join. Okay, thank you. We can take our seats. we can take our seats for the final remarks. For the youth, thank you very much for being patient. We are coming to our last program. Please, I would wish that you'd listen and we finish. I want to take this great honor to welcome Right Honorable Emeritus Ndugu Rukunda to come and give us the final remarks. He's the birthday boy. Today we are late. Happy birthday. And wish you many more years. Thank you very much.
These are closing remarks on to George, and the youth can have your things.
Of change. The author is with us here, and the plant major wishes to launch it with the high table after, so you can have the book launched, and he has it on sale. So if you want it, you can see him. We also have Dr. John Mahana. His book, Survival for the Fittest, has given us a review here. The book, you can contact him. Please, it is rich with history and has a lot that we can learn from. As they say, knowledge is power. Please kindly reach out to them. We also have Madam Lydia Tsiguru, who is here. Students who are doing IT, please don't go without seeing her. She has given us 3 slots, internship. So please, those don't go without seeing her. Now we shall have a photo moment, and this is how we are going to take the photo. We shall have the leaders, the students' leaders, those who get associations at universities. They will take first. Then also the mobilizing team, me, Andrew, Innocent, and also the student leaders shall also